Back in Fort Worth, Texas, where I live, in my house, in my study, on my bulletin board, in a prominent position, I have pinned this photograph. Yes, it's DP. That's when he had a lot of black hair, and he was the MC of the show. At this moment, I took this in about 1972, maybe. At this moment, he was probably singing, "Everybody Likes a Good Tune." Everybody likes a song. Everybody likes to sing one. Everybody sing along. Remember that? Most of you don't, I suppose. Anyway, he was quite the rock star in those days. In these days, he is the president and chief executive officer of Up With People, proving that anything can happen. And for lo these many years, at least up until this morning when I showed that picture, Dale and I have been great pals. So it is my pleasure and my privilege to introduce Dale Penny.
Thank you, Carolyn. Wow. I'm not going to say anything about that. But I do have a confession to make that'll make me very old school. Beside that picture, I get up every morning and I read a newspaper. Not online, a newspaper, a real paper. And what makes me even more of a geek, I'm sure, is that I read the comics. Not all of them. Garfield has never been funny, so I don't read Garfield. But my favorite comic strip is Pearls Before Swine. Sometimes makes me laugh, sometimes makes me groan, terrible puns. Sometimes makes me think. And this panel last month made my heart ache just a little. If we can show it here. Just give you a minute to read it. And I read that, and unfortunately, what Pig is doing is what I hear from too many of my friends and my family. They can't listen anymore to the vitriol, the anger, the ugliness they hear in the news and read online. They don't know who to believe. They don't know who to trust. They don't know who to fear. And they don't know if it's even safe to engage in a conversation with their friends and their family. So they choose not to engage at all. They draw into their own little meadow, like Pig, and avoid any conversation with those that may disagree with them. And they hope it all just goes away. And I have to admit it, that sometimes is a feeling I have. Sometimes I live near the Rocky Mountains, and sometimes I just want to fill my backpack and walk into the Rockies and forget it all for a few days. And just forget that the strife in the world is going on. But I can't do that. I can't draw into my own small piece of the planet and forget that's what's happening to people in Venezuela or Nicaragua, or Japan, or Israel, or Canada, or Kosovo, or 60 miles south of here on the Mexican-U.S. border. What happened to us? Why can't we just turn it off? Turn the world off and sit in our peaceful meadow and hope that whatever is going on over there won't affect us? Why do we care deeply about those who live halfway around the world? I think it's because we have friends in those other places. Because we have friends who may look or act or pray or love or think differently than we do. And we love them deeply. Because somehow, the common experience that we've had, and it doesn't matter if it's 53 years ago or the cast that's starting right now, this experience, this common experience that we share with people unlike us in traveling places unlike home, changed us. We came to realize we are part of something bigger than us, that our actions impact people and communities beyond our little meadow. There was a time, of course, when humans could build walls around their meadows or their cities or their countries and keep those others out. Oceans and mountains could prevent others from being a threat. But of course, technology and communications and transportation have rendered those protections obsolete. Oceans, mountains, even walls won't work to divide us anymore. Now we simply have no choice as a human race but to learn and think and live and act not only as citizens of our own countries but citizens of the world. I read a definition of what a global citizen is the other day. It says it's a way of living that recognizes our world as an increasingly complex web of connections and interdependencies in which our choices and actions may have repercussions for people, communities, locally, nationally, and internationally. Can't disagree with that, but that's a lot of big words for me to remember. I think Paul and Pat and Herb said it better in one of their songs. I cannot turn away and pretend that I don't see that what's happening to you is happening to me. So what does that mean for Up With People? It means that we are evolving, we're changing to address the needs of people where we are today. It means that Up With People is much more than just a traveling cast, as Phil so wonderfully talked about it. It's not even a program, it's not a show. Up With People is an international community of global citizens. And that includes all of us. For Up With People, there are two overarching ways that we're doing that. First is thinking of ourselves not as a program, but as a menu of programs that anybody can access and participate in. Starting with Up With People Junior from 8 to 12, Camp Up With People 13 to 17, experience programs which gives adults of any age a chance to come visit a place and learn about it through the eyes of a cast, as a cast is being there. A new program we call Impact Program, which is a service-oriented program for alumni or non-alumni, students or older adults to travel and give hands-on service throughout the world. We're partnering with universities from Thunderbird to Florida Southern to Oklahoma State, having two-week programs where students who end as a capstone to their have a study abroad experience of their programs and join a cast for 2 weeks so that they can get credit for what they're doing in their classes. And up at the bottom, top, there is a new, I don't know if it's a program, it's more of it's a curriculum that we're going to be sharing with you this afternoon. Those of you that you would like, we call it Stand for Civility. It's a curriculum we've developed with the National Institute for Civil Discourse, which started here at the University of Arizona and is now based in Washington, D.C. And it basically takes people, young people, through an exercise of learning to have a civil and respectful conversation when they disagree on major issues. We think that's important these days, don't you? So programs that build global citizenship is one side, and the other side, working with the Alumni Association, we are setting out in a new way to recognize and celebrate the 23,000 members of the Up With People International Global Citizens community. That's you. Celebrate what you're doing, how you're living out the ideals of Up With People in your community. Tonight we're going to be recognizing a number of people because you have asked for them to be recognized for doing some major things. But you don't have to be doing major things. It's how you live your life. It's how you live based on your Up With People experience. That story is something that the world needs to know, they need to hear about, and we're working with the International Alumni Association to tell that story in a major way, in a much bigger way, using social media and other ways to do it, and we hope you'll join us with that. And as we do that, more and more alumni are now participating in making Up With People what it is. I'd like to announce, I'm supposed to announce it this afternoon, Diane, but I'm going to do it now. Because of the Canadian alumni, we have now reincorporated Up With People as a nonprofit organization in Canada, and it was a And it was our 1,100 Canadian alumni who worked with us to start that ball rolling again so we can once again have tours in Canada and have more and more Canadian students standing there. Last week I got a call from an alumna from 1993, I think, Tressa Fennerty, who is now the senior U.S. diplomat for humanitarian issues based in Geneva, and she works with United Nations, a humanitarian community, on refugee issues. And she said, this is what I'll do. For the next 3 years, I will fund a refugee into travel with Up With People if you'll work with me. And I'll help you get involved with refugee communities throughout the world as you travel and involve them in your communities. And I want to start challenging all of my fellow alumni to contribute to a fund, to provide more to ensure that refugees can continue to travel with Up With People for the future. Alumni are helping shape what Up With People is going to be for the future. And that's where we're moving to. So don't think about Up With People as just what you did in your one cast. It is that, certainly, that's what gives us the shared experience. But it's way beyond that in programs, it's way beyond that in what we're doing together, and it's way beyond that in what alumni are helping do to shape Up With People for a future. Nelson Mandela said, it's so easy to break down and destroy. The heroes are those who make peace and build. Up With People is more than a musical show. And I want to thank you for being Up With People in your lives today, for engaging with the Alumni Association and with Up With People to make Up With People what it is in the future. And I really want to thank you for being the heroes who make peace and build. Thank you very much.
I cannot turn away, pretend that I don't see what's happening